Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. This is the revision session for the concept of asexual reproduction from your CBSE class 10 biology chapter How Do Organisms Reproduce. So we'll be revising the concept of asexual reproduction that we read, and this is one of the most important concepts because many questions are asked from this very concept. So let's talk about the types of reproduction first. So reproduction can be of two types. Fine. It can be either asexual or sexual, about which we'll be discussing today. Today's main topic is going to be the asexual one, sexual one in the next session. Okay. Now first let's discuss about the types of asexual reproduction. What are the different types? But before that, let me tell you asexual. What does mean? Generally, one, like a pencil, a paper. So, one. Reproduction. Sexual. One sex. It means in this type of reproduction, only one sex or only one parent is needed. Okay, that type of reproduction is termed as asexual reproduction. Now, the first type is fission. What is it? Fission is a type of reproduction which is found in unicellular organisms. Unicellular means the organisms which are having only one cell. And one cell is responsible for all the functions in the body of that particular organism. For example, I can say amoeba. Where is my pen? Amoeba, paramecium, leishmania. These are the organisms which undergo fission. They divide or they reproduce through fission. Now, what happens exactly? Now, over here, a parent cell divides into two daughter cells, which is known as the binary fission, or many daughter cells, which is known as the multiple fission. Okay, so let me explain you about the fission properly over here. Okay, now what happens if we are talking about the binary fission? Binary means two. Fission is the type of reproduction. So if this is my amoeba, let's say this is the mother amoeba, the parent cell, right? Now what happens? First thing, the first step which takes place is that the nucleus divides. This one nucleus divides into two, right? And after the nucleus divides, then we have the division of our cytoplasm, because of which we have two separate amoebae. Okay, this is one cytoplasm, this is the second cytoplasm. Now they start dividing. This is the cell, this is the parent cell, nuclei divided, nucleus into two. Now these nucleus will separate out into two daughter cells, and this is known as binary fission, which happens in amoeba. Done. And many PYQs have been asked on the basis of binary fission. You should know a parent cell divides into two daughter cells, right? Okay, through binary fission. Now the types of binary fission can be longitudinal, transverse, or irregular binary fission. Now talking about multiple fission. Multiple means many. So over here the mother cell can divide into, let's say this is my mother cell, parent cell. Okay, now what happens? It divides. This is the nucleus, let's say. Now it divides into multiple daughter cells. First a lot of nuclei, multiple nuclei, and then what happens? These nuclei further divide into individual daughter cells, and they can be many, and sometimes multiple fission takes place in amoeba also under during the unfavorable conditions, whereas it generally takes place in, you can say, plasmodium. Where should I write? Wait a second. Plasmodium. All right, everybody. So I hope it was clear. Now we are moving on to budding. What happens in budding? That the regenerative cells means the cells which can regenerate or reproduce into other cells, other individuals, right? Now what happens? These cells, they form a bud. A bud is a structure, you can say, this kind of a structure. This is known as a bud. I think this pen is not visible. Just a second. This kind of a structure. This is what? Bud. Done? Which develops into an adult organism. So this bud, suppose if I have my hydra with me, where, just a second. Okay. Um, I just have to take a new slide now. Okay, fine. All right. Suppose I have my hydra over here. This is my hydra. For instance, this is your hydra. Now what happens? It is an outgrowth bud. It grows in the body of hydra only. Let's say these are the buds. This is the parent hydra, and these are the buds. Now what happens? They divide rapidly. Now when these buds divide rapidly, then they detach from the parent and form another organism. Like this bud detaches from the parent hydra and forms a new hydra. So this bud will also develop into a new hydra, this also. Similarly, this process happens in yeast. Okay, done. You can see a tiny bump or a type of structure, a bud. It appears on the parent hydra, then this bump develops into a bud or a baby hydra, and this bud grows and grows and grows till the time it breaks and becomes an independent hydra. Okay, so this was about budding. Next type is fragmentation. Now fragmentation can be broken into two parts, fragment and tation. So here we have to deal with the fragments. Now what are these fragments? Fragments are small pieces or parts. So the organisms break into small pieces upon the maturation. After the organisms mature, after they grow up, they break into the smaller pieces, and then each piece grows into an independent organism. Like we can talk about an organism known as Spirogyra. You can see this was the parent Spirogyra. Okay, this was the parent Spirogyra. Then what happened? It divided into two pieces. It broke into two pieces. And these two pieces grew up into new individuals. First piece into another Spirogyra, second piece into another Spirogyra. I hope this much is clear. Fine. Now, talking about the regeneration process. What happens? If by chance an organism gets cut into pieces due to anything, due to injury or something else, it gets cut into pieces, then each fragment grows into an individual organism like Hydra, planaria, starfish, and etc. Now, you will probably ask me the difference between fragmentation and regeneration. What is the difference? In fragmentation, also, we were dealing with fragments or pieces, and those pieces were growing into individual organisms. Here, also, we have pieces. And these pieces are growing into individual organisms. So, what is the difference? The difference lies in the fact that regeneration happens because of artificial circumstances. If an organism cuts because of the other, you can say the artificial ones. Let's say if I am cutting that organism, or by chance due to a sharp object it got cut, this is natural. In fragmentation, the organism naturally divides. This is not natural. If an organism gets cut, then it divides. So this is the difference. Hydra, like Hydra, planaria, starfish, these are the organisms which reproduce by regeneration. Okay. More than being a mode of reproduction, this is considered to be a mechanism by which some organisms can restore lost body parts. So what happens if a lizard has lost its tail? It can get it back through the process of regeneration. You can see regeneration in planaria. Planaria got cut into three pieces. This is the middle part, top, bottom. Top part regenerated to form a new planaria. Bottom part, new planaria. Right? Next is the spore formation. Now, spore formation, with the name itself, it talks about spores. Now, what are spores? They are the structures that can eventually develop into new organisms, like fungi and some plants. Now, they develop some spores, okay, and these spores reproduce, they divide to form new organisms. Like if we talk about spore formation by the rhizopus, that is known as the bread mold, what happens? They are hyphae. Okay, hyphae are these structures, as you are able to see, and sporangium is the you can say the reproductive part. Sporangium and hyphae, they are the parts, and they divide. You should understand that to form new or, organisms. The last one is vegetative propagation. What happens in this? It is a mode of reproduction in plants. It is specially a mode of reproduction used by the plant, by which vegetative plant parts like roots, stem, and leaves develop into new plants under appropriate conditions. The plant parts, like if I'm talking about the roots, the stems, the leaves, these plant parts, they divide into new plants under favorable conditions. Now, for example, grafting. Now, what happens if I desire two plants? Two plants are showing some characteristics. So, what I want to do, I want the characteristics of both the plants to be present in one single plant. So, what do? I cut the upper part of my first desirable plant and I graft it with the lower part of the second desirable plant. After some time, they both combine and form the new plant, like apple and peach, which show these properties. Okay, the second part says layering. In layering, what do we do? A portion of an above ground stem grows roots while still attached to the parent plant. So, a plant, I mean, this plant, as you're able to see, this is an outgrowth. Okay, then it is tied over here. You can see it is growing over here, and for example, we have climbing roses and rhododendron, honeysuckle. These are propagated by layering. So these layers are formed and then they get detached. Then we have cutting, where a piece of stem or root is placed in moist soil. The piece develops roots and grows into an individual plant. Then we cut that part and it grows. For example, rose and pineapple. Okay. Now, what are the advantages of vegetative propagation? How is it advantageous? So the advantages are that such plants can bear flowers and fruits much earlier than those plants raised by seeds. So the plants which are raised by vegetative propagation, they bear the flowers and fruits earlier, which is really good. If you are growing a plant by seed, that will take more time for germinating and etc. But over here, the process is faster. So it is less time consuming, right? Isn't it less time consuming? Plus, it is giving similar efficiency. There is no change in the efficiency. Time is also getting conserved and it is efficient also. And the plants that cannot produce seeds, there are some plants like banana, orange, rose, jasmine, they cannot produce seeds, but they can also be propagated through this method, as we saw: cutting, layering, and grafting. Okay, and all daughter cells are genetically so similar to parent plant that they exhibit all parent characteristics. So the daughter cells, they exhibit all the parent characteristics. They have all the features which their parent plant had. Okay, quiz round 2. Quiz round 1 was done in the previous session of how do organisms reproduce, wherein I talked about DNA replication and variation. Variations are essential, as you know. Quiz round 2, question number 1. Okay, let it be question number 1. Rhizopus reproduces by what? Your options are fragmentation, spore formation, fission, or budding. Easy peasy, just now we discussed about it. And your time's up. It is spore formation. We talked about hyphae and sporangia, and in this way, Rhizopus reproduces by spores. Sixth, which of the following is not a type of binary fission? We talked about them. Just recall. Where is it? Longitudinal. What happens in longitudinal? The standing one. Transverse, horizontal. Irregular, like amoeba. Anyhow. So longitudinal, transverse, and irregular. Let's look at the options now. Okay, longitudinal, transverse, irregular, latitudinal. So the answer is latitudinal because it's not a type. Now, just have a look at the picture. The following picture depicts regeneration in dash. Hydra, starfish, planaria, or none of the above. It's easy. And your time's up. It is planaria. Planaria, when cut into pieces, regenerates into new organisms. Okay, now can you think of reasons why more complex organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration? What can be the reason for it? If an organism is more complex, having a more complex body structure because of different cells, different tissues, and more organs, then why can't they give rise to new individuals through regeneration? What do you think? Okay, here is the answer. Wait a second. I will have to shift my camera that side. I think it's better now. Huh. It says that higher complex organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration because complex organisms have organ system level of organization. All the organ systems of their body work together as an interconnected unit. They can regenerate their lost body parts such as skin, muscles, blood, etc. However, they cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration. Reason is that they have an interconnected unit of all the body parts. So what happens that they can regenerate? It is possible, but only their body parts. Their individual body parts can regenerate just like skin, muscles, and blood. But when we talk about the entire individual, that cannot happen. If muscles are lost, then muscles will be regenerated. If anything, blood cells are lost, then they will be regenerated. It won't happen like you've lost the blood, so entire organism will be developed from you. No. Okay? Okay, fine. This question is of CBSE 2015. Study the diagram given below. So we are able to see that this diagram is telling us, is portraying the binary fission in amoeba. Identify the process which organism uses the above method for reproduction. How is the above method different from the process of fragmentation? Okay, I will have to take a new slide so that I can tell you the answer. Okay, wait a second. Fine now. Okay. This is the question. Now identify the process. So how will you write in the subjective manner? You'll write down A, process is binary fission. Please just don't write fission. Fission. Write down binary fission. B. Which organism uses? It is amoeba. Okay. And third, how is the above method different from the process of fragmentation? So that you can write. Okay, the process depicts binary fission, a method of asexual reproduction. Please, this is the complete sentence. It is a 3-marker question. It can be your case-based question. Remember that, 4-marker. 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, 2 marks for this. 2 differences. Now you can see the process depicts binary fission, a method of asexual reproduction, and binary fission occurs in amoeba, euglena, and paramecium. Now the third, how is it different? You can tell now here. The parent cell divides into 2 daughter cells. There, the parent cell splits into fragments, and those pieces divide into new organisms. It's given in the NCERT. I've given the page number also. 129 and 130. You can write any 2 points for getting 4 marks. Okay. Now homework question is there, which was asked in CBSE 2013. You can read it. Ravi took 3 blood sizes and kept them in the following conditions. Slice one in dry and dark place, then moist and dark place, moist and in the refrigerator. What would you observe in each of the conditions? Give reasons. 3-marker question, perfect for case based also, and a very good question. So please let me know. And thank you so much for attending. I hope you would have revised asexual reproduction concept. Thank you.